where was unfortunately cut off last time. That was just a short introduction just to the market of the European Union, where we are 27 member states working in collaboration around one single market, meaning that the legislation which is currently functioning in Denmark is also the one that's applied in all the other 27 member states. In addition to this, we also have a series of other member states who are also recognizing the CE mark, which is both like Turkey, the UK, and Switzerland, Norway, for example, Liechtenstein, and other countries. So it is around 700 million citizens who are currently using the CE mark as their trusted mark of quality. We have in the European Union, we have the setup is working around the notified bodies, meaning we have around 55 designated bodies who are the ones who are issuing the CE mark, and they are also the ones who are evaluating if a device is in line with the regulation. And as part of this this task that they are responsible for, they are also responsible for the surveillance of vigilance activities for the high-risk devices. And as a competent authority, we are the ones who are responsible for the surveillance and also the handling of the vigilance activities. And for those countries who are designating authority as well, they are also the responsible authority for the surveillance of the notified bodies as well, meaning they have the joint orders and also the ones who are appointing the different notified bodies. Next slide, please. In the European Union, a medical device, that means any instrument, apparatus, appliance, software, implant, reagent material, or other article which is intended by the manufacturer to be used alone or in combination for the human beings for one of the more following specific medical purposes, that both be diagnosis, prevention, monitoring, prediction, prognosis, treatment, or elevation of diseases, injuries, or disabilities, or physiological or pathological process or state. And I think that's very similar to many of the other different legislative regions that we are looking into. I think what was very central for this within the European Union is that there needs to be a responsible manufacturer, meaning they are also the ones who are responsible for ensuring that the legislation is upheld, and also for having the different technical documentations, and also for ensuring the safety and performance of the device when it's on the market. Next slide, please. In our legislation, the requirements which are set for the post-market surveillance is stated in Chapter 7, which is called the Post-Market Surveillance, Vigilance, and Market Surveillance. And that consists of 3 different sections, where the first section, the Post-Market Surveillance, that sets the requirements for the manufacturers, meaning that's all the different activities that a manufacturer is required to have and to keep to ensure that it's up to date when the device is on the market. In section 2, you have the vigilance activities, meaning those are the activities you as a manufacturer are obliged to report if you have an incident or a serious incident where there is an issue for a patient or a citizen within the European Union. Thirdly, in the section part 3, we have market surveillance activities, which is all different activities which are carried out and measured by the competent authorities. Meaning those are the requirements which are set to, for example, us in the DKMA here in Denmark, where we are required to work with. And I think the parts about the market surveillance will not be covered in this presentation, since I've chosen to focus primarily on the post-market and the vigilance. Next slide, please. So in Article 83, the post-market surveillance system in the EU, that sets the requirements for the manufacturer which they need to have in place when they are putting a device on the market. So the post-market surveillance system that consists of our post-market surveillance plan, the post-market surveillance report, which is called the PSUR, the incident report, and the incident reporting system, the field safety corrective action reporting, the periodic summary report, and also the trend reporting. All 6 activities which are required as the manufacturer by the manufacturer. So if we look at the post-market surveillance plan, that is the manufacturer, they are required to have a plan on how to establish, document, and implement the different activities they are running after the device has been marketed. Within the PSUR, which I will go a little bit deep dive into in just a short while. I will not do that one right now. And then the reporting, that will be the vigilance I'll come back to. The field safety corrective action reporting is the requirement for the manufacturer on how they are notifying the buyers and the users of the device if there are any of the different issues that the device has been faced with. How is that handled, and how have they made some different corrective actions to ensure that the device is up to code again. The periodic summary report is a summary report which the manufacturer are required to send to us as competent authorities, where they are evaluating if the device is still up to code with the legislation. And the trend reporting is finally the data requirement set, where they are focusing on how the different data points they have gathered, what does that show us. Next slide, please. So just as I mentioned, I would do just a short deep dive into 4 different areas. And the one is the PSUR. The other one is the PRRC, the person responsible for the regulatory compliance, the UDMET, and also the vigilance. And if we, in the European Union, just before moving on, we have different ways of working within the European Union on these different topics as well. We have the different working groups where we are collaborating together. We are meeting 2 to 4 times a year, and we are discussing the different guidance material and also guidelines and common specifications and how they need to be developed in the collaboration between the different competent authorities. The focus of these working groups is to help the manufacturers and of the authorities on the understanding of the regulation, and also ensure the clarity on the requirements, which is currently can be somewhat challenging. Then in the European Union, we also have a set of different task forces where we are working on the high-risk cases, and we gather these task forces together to look into the specific cases or topics. And I think two good examples right now that could, for example, be when it comes to climate change and the different horizontal legislations which are currently affecting manufacturers of devices. It could also be when it comes to the AI Act, which some of you might have heard of, which is also a horizontal legislation that the manufacturers are currently need to look in how to implement these requirements. And it can also be, for example, if you have derogations from yes.
Thank you, Dr.
Just
Larsen.
if we the other two ways of working, the other ways of working that we have is also we have different standard forms where we are communicating. One is the CDF, that being this is the form where we ask for help between different member states, and also if we need to take action due to, for example, a trend of incidents, or they might actually also we could also have the dialogue regarding different kinds of certification requirements. Next slide, please. So, as mentioned, I will just jump into the periodic safety update report. And that is in the European Union. We have the 5 classes that we are. The class 1 is the lowest class, which is like wheelchairs, chairs, walking sticks, and we also have the highest classes, which are the breast implants. And for IVD, it's the A2D, where the protest. The periodic summary update report that provides a general overview of all post-market surveillance activities, the data collected and analyzed based on the post-market surveillance plan for the device. Therefore, the aim of the PSUR is not to duplicate all data or reports generated by the post-market surveillance plan, but it's a summary of all the results and conclusions. And throughout the lifetime of the device, then the PSUR this shall set out both the conclusion from benefit determination, some of the main findings when the post-market follow-up, and also what the volume is of sales of devices, intended users, and frequency of usage of a device in order to get an understanding of how big a market the current device is operating on. And then it also have the PMS like Vigilance and the corrective action, preventive action information. The PSUR needs to be updated by the manufacturer annually for the most of the device classes, and need also documentation. With it will also be required. Next slide. So then we have the person responsible for the regulatory. Manufacturers will need to have available within the organization at least one person who are responsible for the regulatory compliance, and is also who possess the required expertise in the field of medical devices. This required expertise needs to be documented either through like diploma, certifications, or the evidence of qualification, like through a university or a set of different courses, which is recognized as equivalent in the different members. The PRC, he also needs to have 4 years of professional experience within regulatory affairs or in quality management relating to medical devices. And then he also needs to be without prejudice to the national provisions regarding professional qualifications, manufacturers, so on. The responsibility for this person, he need to ensure that the conformity of the device is appropriate, checked, and also in accordance with quality management system, which the manufacturer also needs to be under. He is also responsible for the technical documentation, and for low-class devices, he's also responsible for the declaration of conformity that is drawn up correctly and is kept up to date. And then he's responsible for the post-market surveillance applications, being the post-market surveillance system is in place and in accordance with the regulations, and that the different reporting obligations, for example, the PSUR and also the post-market surveillance plan, is also fulfilled as a requirement. Case of have some different cases which need to be investigated. This person is also required in to take part in different discussions. Next slide, please. Good. Then we have the UDAMET, which is a long story here within the European Union. The UDAMET is the common European database with an auto. It's not put into play right now, but coming from 2026, some of the different modules will be required for a manufacturer to use, and that being one of them is the vigilance module. So the manufacturer needs to ensure that if they have any vigilance cases, then they need to be put in their reports within the Udemy system, which is the new platform where both notified bodies and also competent and designating authorities working in collaboration. Some of the data will also be publicly available within the Udemy. So also, for example, hospitals can see cases, patients being reported, which is issued by notified bodies. The UDI, which was presented in the last presentation within the also the different post-market surveillance activities. And when we are in a couple of years, also the clinical investigations will also be reported here, and you will also in the Udemy have open access register. Next slide, please. Oh, next slide, please, again. So, if we're going into the vigilance, all the manufacturers of the devices which are made available in the European Union, they are responsible for reporting if they have any serious incidents involving devices which are made available, except if we are talking about like different side effects which are clearly documented in the IFUs. They need also to report if they have any field safety corrective actions respects to devices which are also made available. Also, if it's different actions which are undertaken in third countries, and also if a device, if they have the suspicion of any devices which have been seen, then you also have the responsibility to report that to us as competent authorities. These are the two main reporting applications which comes to vigilance, and it is both authorities, but also to notified bodies who are issuing the certificate if it's a high risk device. Next slide, please. Good. And the manufacturers within who are putting devices onto the market, they need to have a place quality management system, which actually ensures that it is setting up and also implementing the well-functioning post-market surveillance system, which it also needs to be able to document their quality management system, since it is part of the certification process before being able to get a certification for a device. They also have the obligation to handle the communication with us as competent authorities, notified bodies, and also other economic operators. They also, in their quality management system, also needs to have the processes in place for the reporting of the vigilance activities, and it also needs to activate preventive actions that might need to be put in place in the cycle of a device. It also needs to be able to document how they will do the trend analysis, and also on how they will continuously evaluate the performance and safety of the device. It also needs to have the processes in place, the quality management system for the monitoring and the measurement of output, and the data analysis, which is required by the trend analysis. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, again. So, some of the obligations which they also need to have in places, that's basically reporting obligations, when we need to be working together with us as competent authorities if they have these vigilance cases. So when they are reporting to us, the process is either we will get in contact with the manufacturer, or as a competent authority, or it will be the manufacturer who writes us a CEF or an email. Then the manufacturer will, based on this report, be required to make a root cause analysis of why the serious incident or the incident has happened, or there is a trend of serious incidents. They need to document why is it the different requirements is not fulfilled within the device, and then they need to, based on this root cause analysis, then they need to define what are the different activities they are setting up to ensure that the device will not happen again. If the manufacturer they do not wish to cooperate with us as a competent authority, or they do not inform us of the serious incident, or they provide us with the right set of documentation, as a competent authority, we have the obligation to take different measures into consideration. This will quite often be in collaboration with all the different member states if it is a serious case. And then sometimes it can also be the European Commission who will take the final call if a device should either be recalled or it needs to have the certificate reviewed or so on. It will also be collaboration with the notified bodies, so they are also the ones responsible for the different device. Next slide, please. So, if also just for my final slide here, these are some of the requirements for the manufacturers, but for the different other economic operators, there are also different requirements which they need to fulfill. For example, if you are the authorized representative, they are the ones we as a competent authority need to have first point of contact with if the manufacturer is located in the European entity, which has the access to all the different documentations which needs to be provided of the manufacturer. And they are also the ones who are able to answer the different questions, or at least communicate with the manufacturer and answer on behalf of the manufacturer. The importers, they also have the obligations to ensure that the devices are legally put onto the market, and they also have the responsibilities when it comes to where they have their devices, and in cases they are required with us as competent authorities. The same goes for the distributors. The difference between the importers and distributors is that a distributor is located within the European Union and is also doing its activities within the European Union, whereas an importer, they are bringing new devices into the market from outside the European Union. Finally, we also have the healthcare professionals who are required also to notify the manufacturers if they are seeing any serious incidents, and that they need to somehow need to manage. We also need to make sure that different if there has been issued an field safety inspection, that is also implemented in the way the healthcare institutions. In Denmark, we have a national requirement that it is they are obliged by law to do this recording requirement which is set manufacturer needs to fulfill in order to have a device placed on the market. So when we have one single market, that is when it comes to the RNA and the collaboration there, but we might also have some additional IFUs and also in the user interfaces when it comes to software as a medical device, which are translated into Danish, for example. This was my final slide. And I'm sorry for being a little bit quick in the walkthrough, but I have a hard back end here. So I don't know if there are any questions. Please, yeah, we'll be happy to answer them on a mail later on.